Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Ooh, wow. It's been an interesting week. Been on that, I don't want to say that grind, but, so we're glad to be approaching the weekend. Having the next 2 days off. Yeah, just looking forward towards that. Anyway, big shouts out to Jacob Payne for donating toward the show. Yep, pretty much. Hey, shout out Jake. What's up? Anyway, today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about moving toward purpose and direction in your play style. And looking at that, implications of that, and then we're going to go into pretty much in the second part some ideas in the meta that are showing up right now, and some figures that you probably want to start thinking about in the next few months in getting your hands on or playing or think about playing against. And I'm just going to list off some major figures that have now sort of made a bigger sort of showing of why you need to think about them. Okay, so let's get started. I just finished watching The Equalizer, Denzel Washington fan for the longest. Oh gosh, like all the way back to Glory as a kid. And if you've never seen Glory, you gotta freaking watch Glory. It has Denzel Washington in it, and a few other very well known African American actors. And what's funny is it's like the main one right now. I was like, oh gosh, what is his name? And it's like, hold up, I'm gonna know in a second. Oh yeah, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's in it as well. So it's definitely it's a really good story. I think he did this before or after Driving Miss Daisy. I can't remember. I really can't remember. It's sort of like Samuel L. Jackson. It's like you don't realize like how iconic and how much depth his series of work is until you start looking at it, and it's like, oh snap, it's like that's that deep. But anyway, if you're an adult and you're over the age of 16, I would definitely recommend Equalizer to listen to watch it, mainly for the motivational and transformational things that are there. And I would say a good part of this part of the podcast is mainly like inspired by that, and also some New Year's stuff that I've been thinking about personally, and what direction I'm going to try to take my life this year with various things. But it starts with a pretty good quote by Mark Twain, saying, the two biggest moments in your life are the moments that the moment you were born and the moment you realize what you're born to do. And at some point in time, I know when people listen to the show, they're like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to be well-rounded. And well-roundedness takes time. But more and more what I'm learning in a natural development of heroclix play style and me mentoring and getting certain progress out of mentoring sessions is that emphasizing who you are as a player and sharpening that first. So if you're aggro, usually I could tell, like, okay, you're aggro, let's sharpen that. Your shenanigans, let's sharpen that. You're defensive, let's sharpen that. And then after the sharpening process, then we can start adding different layers on. But being you is going to determine the origin, the nexus, the matrices in which everything else comes out of. There is tech that I have labored over and labored over and labored over and then handed to somebody else, and they completely bombed with it. And I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? Why doesn't this, I mean, you should have won. Like this, it's so simple. You do this, this, and this. You just follow the script. And the person says, well, I just don't play like that. And then I would play that individual with that team sort of a mirror match, and I would see like, wow, they're doing these things and these things, and they have a tendency of doing this other thing, the tendency of putting this type of figure there and this other type of figure here. And you can say, well, you can correct some of those things with coaching and whatnot, but really instinctively there is this mindset that hits the core of the individual first, and that's where they're coming out of. And realizing that with you as a player is important. I put it like this. I think in our society, the concept of having teeth in the sense of fangs and willing to bite and using them is looked as barbaric and not emotionally sensitive to your compatriots. And to an extent, I understand that. But we are, taking part in a fictional warfare with little men using our intellects. And so it is okay to bare your fangs. And I keep bringing this up with my chess background. But the day I lost it, I was at chess nationals. I was in high school. I've been playing chess since I was a kid, like since I was 5. So I'd been playing chess for over like 10 years. And I only really got serious, like in high school. And I mean, like reading books and stuff and learning about gambits and all this other stuff, and not Gambit the character nor Gambit's the card. But anyway, going on. I was at chess nationals. I think it was my senior year, and I had several interesting encounters, and one of which I bring up a lot is I played chess against like an 8-year-old, like just a standard game. He like waxed me hard, like he just beat me like senseless. And then I went and played his sister, and his sister beat me just as bad, and his sister was like 7 or something. So I was like, oh gosh, like I suck. And like, and they're in the same division as I am. So I was like, oh, I hope I don't play you later. But what it did to me as a person, it made me realize, and some people might say like, this is wrong, Edward. Like if there's a little child in front of me, or George Massue, Alex Avila, your mom, because I did play someone's mom before, I don't care. You sit in front of me, I will wipe the floor with you. Once it's sort of decided, I'm not going to be like stalling it out. I'm like, okay, well, it's pretty much, over. I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna be, brutal about it. I'm just gonna end it. I'm not gonna make stupid mistakes to give the person a chance. But what I realized back then was that if I had any inhibitors in my mind that child was incapable of fighting me, then I was wrong, because I am matching physical strength with mental strength. Okay? And this is the part I think a lot of more casual people don't fully get, or let alone understand, is that I can look at you and I can assess your physical strength. I can listen to you and I can detect your social intelligence. But when I play you on that game, in this game, it is a different type of manifestation of self. Okay? I just because you're good with words doesn't mean that you're good with heroclix. Just because you're good with spatial perceptions does not mean you're good with heroclix. Okay? Just because you're good at Warhammer 40K does not mean that you're good at heroclix. Okay? There is nothing innately that I can see in your persons that's going to tell me that you're good at heroclix. If I stripped away all your knowledge of personalities and people and faces who are well known in the heroclix community, and I made a lineup of 20 people, and I said, in this lineup there are 3 world champions and 2 well known players. So pretty much, like 1 out of 4. Okay, so I got 5 versed heroclix players. I can say, like, I got Patricia Lamb there. I got George Massue. I got Dan. I got Patrick Yapago. And let's just say I got Adam Friedman. Okay. I got those 5 lined up in there. Okay. Different ethnicities, different looks. I got a female in there. And I mix in, 15 other people. And then say, hey, Bam. Pick out who's good at heroclix. Okay. You can't tell. You can't tell. It's just like, if I went to some random, venue like I have in the past and just played people, they don't listen to the interwebs and know who Dark Logos is. And then I come in and like just whoop butt. They're like, oh man, that was awesome. Like that team that you had there, blah, 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 blah. That was cool, man. Awesome. Okay. I'll make friends and be cool and it's all nice. But there's nothing in ERT that they could get this sense of like, oh yeah, he's good at heroclix. I come in with my magical brown bag and I, take my heroclix out of my Tupperware and have this weird concoction of figures and attackers that they probably normally don't go against. Yeah, they're not going to know if I'm really good or bad at heroclix. Okay? But I'm good at heroclix because you're listening to me. Okay? So sort of take and look at that. The second sort of story that ended up happening, I think I've told this before, that happened at the same chess nationals, is I was going against a young woman, and the young woman put like this ugly rat thing on the table, and it's like a rubber rat, and I just said like, that's distracting. And this is like before the clock starts, because you set your clocks in chess. And she's like, this is my mascot. I mean, like, it's ugly. I mean, it's really, really ugly. And then she sort of like pseudo flirts with me. And I'm like, no, this is Jack. So time's about to start. I call over the judge and I'm like, Judge, this is distracting. She won't remove it from the table. And then the judge tells the young lady that she has to remove the rat from the table, and she does. So we proceed to play the game. I'm white, she's black. It's sort of weird that I remember all these things now that it comes back. And I pretty much have her in a position where I'm going to sack a rook, her rook with my bishop, and lose my bishop, but it's going to put her in a position that if she takes my bishop, it's going to be check. So pretty much I'm going to sack a rook for free, and then I set up the board, and again, this is where the turtle comes in for me, in a pawn positioning that if she moves any legal figure, she's going to end up putting force into a lost trade. Okay. And then the one thing about chess, unlike heroclix, is you can't pass. You can't pass and be like, I'm not going to make a move. That doesn't work, because if you pass, well, at Nationals, like if it's two passes, it's like an automatic draw. It's like something like that. I forgot what the weird rules are, but you don't have a direct pass. So she had to go down the trade. I mean, it was inevitable. It was forced. And so she stalled out the trade. I mean, she stalled out the game, and I just called the judge over, and I'm like, yo, she's stalling. I mean, her clock was going to run out, but I needed to get points because points matter in your rankings and whatnot. I mean, the win matters more, but I need to get points. Okay. So the interesting thing is, in this period of time, I think my record at that time was like 3-1. So my opponent is of equal skill. Think about how many people that she beat with a stupid rat and a little bit of flirting. Okay. How many of her opponents thought her to be weak? Was she adequate? Yeah, but she really wasn't as strong as she was, as her match record set out to be. Okay. But there's these little subtleties that, because her opponents looked at her and said she's a woman, and her opponents looked at her and said, oh, look, whatever, that rat thing. What is that? Is that a wart on that rat? That rat looks ugly. The mental power that was diverted by those two little things, and then a little flirt, and a little eye gaze, and a little, pucker of the lips, and then bam, they're gone. They didn't understand that in the midst of all that, there are distractions going on. There are things that are there to make it really annoying and hard to focus, and that the most important thing is right in front of them, the game. And so, like, I'll tell you about mental games, and I'll tell you about what's inside your head, primarily because the biggest thing that I see that is the number one cause of lost games in the game, in heroclix right now, is I can't remember my cards. I can't remember what my figures do. I can't remember what my opponent's figures do. They said what's on what, this other thing's on this other thing, what's going on here, who has that, no, that didn't happen, this thing happened, no, I signed this perplex goes there, blah 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 blah. Okay, why is a lot of that an issue? Okay, I mean, because A, we don't practice towards purpose, and we don't move with purpose. We try to move towards perfection, or we try to move in perfection, and it just doesn't play out that way. We moved for a purpose. The next thing is that we don't exercise our minds to keep those things in the forefront, to juggle the 16 balls in the air. Okay, I had one of my best friends from high school. He now just, he juggles. He juggles since college, and he just loves it. And what he told me was, it's interesting. I forgot what the number is. I'm just going to throw it out there. He said, it's easier to teach how to juggle 6 pins than it is 5 pins. So it's easier to go like from 4 pins to 6 than it is to teach someone how to do 5. And he said it's really strange that most people think that they just need to like go up to the next one automatically, that 5 is the natural progression from 4, when in actuality to juggle 5 takes a different count that is completely odd than it is 6. And so a lot of people quit juggling once they start getting to 5, or they stop trying to progress. Now, I'm a guy that can barely juggle too, so that sort of got me. I was like, wow, people can juggle 4. But the interesting thing that he sort of brought up to my mind was that people look at, if I can handle 6 things in heroclix, then I need to move on to 7. Instead of saying, no, there's just a pattern for handling 12. There's just a pattern for handling 15. There's a different pattern for handling 25. And then operating in our minds like that and just saying, okay, I need to just skip to 25. Now, some people, they can do that. Some people, you might need to gradually build up to 25. But understand that the pattern for holding 25 different individual events in your head is possible. The one thing that is interesting is that human beings have the ability to adapt greatly and a lot quicker than we think mentally. And here's something, for example. Before written text, there was oral tradition. And if you ever watch Roots, The Next Generation, there's Roots and then there's Roots, The Next Generation. We're approaching Black History Month. So, yeah, Roots and 12 Years a Slave and Selma and all these other movies are going to come up in my vernacular. So be prepared. Okay, but if you watch the end of Roots, The Next Generation, it's like the second miniseries that Alvin Haley did. And at the end of it, James Earl Jones is technically, Alvin Haley. Yes, I think it's Alan Haley. Anyway, the author of Roots. Anyway, he tracks down all the way his ancestors from Kunta Kinte to this tribe in Africa. And then he's listening to the elder recite the generations. And as it's like 25, 30 generations deep. And then he hears the name Kunta Kinte. And it's like, oh, wait. Kunta Kinte. I know who Kunta Kinte, Kunta Kinte begot, Kizzy. Kizzy begot, Chicken George. Chicken George begot, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you have people who don't have paper, who have a strong oral tradition, that are able to remember, 30 to 50 to 100 generations. Okay? And it's kept consistent, because if you don't keep track of who begot who, then guess what? That means you're not in our tribe, because you don't know the story. Now, you're going to tell me that an indigenous people in Africa who have little to no technology at that period of time are able to, maintain their daily life and have a form of textiles, and interact with people, and able to remember 100 generations of their ancestors, and you can't remember 21 things on the heroclix board. Who's stupider? Really? Functionally, think about it. Who's stupider? You in your high-tech technology world with your iPhone and iPad and, your, hyper lattes and all this other stuff, or a guy in not even a third world country in the freaking middle of the jungle who has none of that? Really, who's smarter? And that's one of the things that we sort of forget, is that to an extent, if you do not exercise parts of your mind, you become weak. We compensate. Like, look at your spelling. Like, my spelling is atrocious now. Why is that? Because I have spell check. I know what the word looks like, but ask me to pull that word from my memory. No, I just can't. I won't spell it right. I'll spell some words right, but I've noticed increasingly that the amount of words that I have spelled correctly is on a sharp decline. At one point in time, I had a problem spelling the word people. And then I'm over that now. But really, for our society, because we're compensating through these other means, we are not really retaining knowledge to our physical capabilities with our gray matter. Okay. Another thing, like even with vocabulary, where I have a problem with a lot of people, I can unleash it here because it's my dang show and I can use my verbiage. But I have noticed that if I reveal my true self and how I think using a vast vernacular of words and synonyms and a combination of nouns and syllables, yes, I did mispronounce that on purpose. Most people think that I'm talking down to them. Or I'm being abnormal or being purposely antagonistic, when in actuality this is my internal monologue verbalized, and I am fully capable of displaying what I think and what I feel in great detail and accuracy, and I have specific thoughts and use specific words. Not a lot of people can do that, and so doing that has become either I'm talking down to some, or I am trying to prove or make others look stupid, So it's interesting. But why is that? Why does that feeling come in? Well, because most people don't use most of their, just the part of their brain that deals with vocabulary, because you don't have to, because you could have a very basic vocabulary and function in life. But if all of a sudden you become a lawyer, that doesn't work. Now, if all of a sudden you become a mechanic, your verbiage, having high amounts of verbiage might be useful, but unfortunately it does not help you with depth problem solving and being able to do weird forms of math of pressors and all sorts of stuff in your head and different amounts that you have to keep track. Then, change jobs over to being a surgeon, then change jobs over to being a firefighter, then knowing, temperatures, how chemicals can explode at X, Y, and Z temperatures, hazardous materials and gases that can appear, how to properly do CPR. Now we trade jobs over to a trash man, hazardous materials, how to be prepared for, the weather outside. Now we change jobs to being a teacher. Do you start to understand that you cannot have total sufficiency intellectually in all functions, and that's why your brain adapts to the lane that you are in? Okay, you can't be a Superman. You can't be the handyman with the great job and also able to fix computers and fix cars and do everything excellently. You don't have the mental capacity to do so, nor the time. But you can choose what fields you are going to excel at. If you choose not to excel at heroclix, cool. I am a supplementary mindset. I am your brain, technically. I am that part in your tribal construct that is your tactician for us to go off to war. I am your male Cortana to your Master Chief. Okay, I tell you where the bad guys are and what to do, and you pull the gun. You pull the trigger on the gun. Cool. So when we move towards practice towards purpose, we start to bring out who we are. Not only do we bring out who we are, we're moving toward how we're playing, and we start assessing the common problems of the day. If the common problems of the day is daggone it, I keep forgetting things, maybe I need to do mental exercises so that I can remember things. Maybe I could start, making something up in my head to help me remember the 25 things that are going on the board. And when my opponent says, no, blah, 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 this is going on, I'm like, no, that's not going on. Here's why, blah, 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 blah. Like, I always know when my characters are pushed or when they take in tokens or actions this turn, that this turn or not, because every turn that I use has a different color action token. So someone says, like, blah, 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 took an action this turn. I'm like, no, they didn't. It's this color. It's this color. See, this is because this color, I didn't take an action. And then you go look at theirs, they have 2 pennies. Not hating on the pennies thing, but, hey, did that character act this turn or last turn? Do you remember? So, anyway, so moving towards purpose, moving towards our goals, knowing what type of heroclix player we want to become, how I assist you in that process is very important. Because if we just play and just like, okay, blah, 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 you're just going to end up wherever you end up. And you could be someplace better than you thought, or you could be someplace worse than you're capable of. One thing I am for certain is this: the human being is able to adapt mentally very quickly, more so than we are able to think. So definitely I could say that with myself. I went and started to learn how to dance. Learn how to dance, people. Due to mental and social pressures. Okay? Think about that. And also with that, I've learned various other lessons that have allowed me to bring more depth to you. Okay? All right, so let's go in to some figures that we need to look at for this upcoming year so far that's already going to become an issue. And some of this is mainly, yay, counter. Another part of this is you really want to think in depth on this. Some of this is going to be golden age, some of it's not. Just bear with me, because the issues that I'm going to bring up, some of your metas that I deal with people on, they're like, well, we play everything, and some of you don't. So I'm trying to just shotgun it. Okay, so bear with me. All right, one of the main things that I feel that we're looking at and we have a problem with, of course, is going to be Kyle Rayner, and there's multiple things that you can do to deal with Kyle Rayner. And one of the main ones is I just go and play Proxima Midnight and that solves everything. Well, not exactly. It can solve some things, but it doesn't solve everything. One figure that we probably want to start thinking about, mainly when we start seeing, which is the main issue in all this, is hey, guess what? We have all this stupid healing and stop click crap going on. Is Galactic Guardians non-chase Thanos. Now, you might say to yourself, that Thanos sucks, because I'd rather have chase Thanos. And the answer to that is no, you don't. No, you rather not have chase Thanos, because you're going to play some sort of kill box capture crap, and it all it does is just bring Kyle or whoever else it is that's going to mow you down right to your doorstep to mow you down. That's not a good idea, okay? Now, I would definitely say for what I'm proposing, yeah, you can run the 150 version. It's a little bit more riskier, but the main point of this is that you can't heal. That his trait, like Avatar of Death, other characters can't be healed. Now, that also means, hey, you can't run that, healing and support on your team, but you know this. just purely because, hey, you're playing this team. And there's characters that just turn their dial to certain points on their dial because they can. Oh, crap. What's that scroll guy? Zavin. Like Zavin. He gets around that because he just turns his dial. Okay, he doesn't heal. There's another character from Teen Titans. She just changes her dial. She doesn't heal. Also, Etrigan. He doesn't heal. He just changes his dial. So you can start to see like how certain advantages can pop up. But the main thing is that we're shutting down the nurse, which is like a big, huge problem. Huge problem from the way I've seen the meta play out. Definitely, I would say with my own play style against other people, is that once you start putting that nurse on certain figures, it's just like, good day to you, sir. Like, oh, you think you killed me? No, you didn't. I'm just going to regen. Oh, I rolled a 4. Going to regen 2 there. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And you now have to get me past that stop click again. And so there's a problem with that. But when you start saying like, oh, hey, Avatar Death, there is no healing. There is no entity, healing guys back up. There is no White Lantern power battery, heal, any of that. There's none of that. There's all that stuff is shut down. Okay. So that's one key figure that we're definitely going to have to look at. Definitely, if you have those Golden Age formats, go look at Thanos. Really, really worth it. Definitely, if you're dealing with trying to get over that darn pesky nurse construct. Okay, and not only that, if the entity is being played a lot, where it can just I just heal all these guys next to me, or anybody else has an ability. It's like, oh, I just heal all these guys next to me for one click. You just shut all that down. Just shut all that down. That Bruce Wayne Prime, shut him down too. There Moya McTaggart, just oh gosh, shut her down so hardcore. So that's definitely, like I said, a figure to think about, look at. He's going to be a lot cheaper. They say low price $23. I'm betting you could probably get them cheaper than that. Okay. The next figure that we're going to, just be looking at in general, when I initially thought about her and when she first came out, I was like, oh my gosh, she's broken. Now I'm starting to realize in all honesty, WizKids started incorporating more trait, special power, synchronicity, and it made her a little bit not as strong as we wanted, and that was Hope. Hope Summers is a very good, strong piece, and I think coming up here, there's going to be several characters that just have those special powers, just like, oh gosh, really? You just did that? No. Oh, ugh, I didn't want to deal with that. One of which is the new Shazam, with Hope Summers and Tim McGraw, whoever that guy is, that mystical guy from freaking Dark Justice League or whatever. But pretty much, you just get on that first click of, you get on that first click of Shazam, and when you decide to do it, you just say, hey, take an action, move Shazam, make sure Hope's on her copy powers click. She copies that power from Shazam and be like, boom, I take a click, and guess what? I give everybody adjacent to me +1. And boom, I make this other person, then Shazam goes off, and then that Tim guy goes off, and it's like, oh, guess what? James here is +3 stats. You don't want to deal with that. So that's something that is quite interesting. It's like, oh, hey, but then we heal them all up using X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh, mainly Elixir. I think it's Elixir. Yeah, Elixir was awesome. It's like, when he heals one, he heals everybody else for one that's adjacent. Yay. You just start it all over again. Mainly if you put on a Colossal. A Colossal with +3 stats. Oh gosh, it's freaking ridiculous. But again, Hope Summers, definitely on the lookout. There's some uses for her, and a lot more than I think people are going to give her credit for how powerful she can be. And I know we've been doing this like, hey, check it out, AE stuff, and that's not bad. But she's not limited at all to who she can steal powers from, and that's really, really strong. I still think that there's potential there. If you have a white Phoenix Hope, I just feel sorry for you. Like, she's not that good. Anyway, so one figure, like I said, definitely check out. This next figure that I'm saying that we definitely need to look at is an oldie but a goodie at this stage, and it's White Witch. And the main reason, definitely for no tactics, White Witch is your Green Lantern power battery in the sky, but more importantly, with the other batteries out, playing White Witch allows you to pretty much do what the Green Lantern power battery does and still get another battery. That's something that I think a lot of folks have somewhat created the opposite effect of the argument. They said, oh, why play White Witch when I can play the battery for cheaper? And then folks, and it sort of sounds smart, and to an extent, and I've even said it myself. But coming back sort of no tactics, you can't play the Green Lantern power battery, bam, here's White Witch. But also just, think about this. You get the mystical energy thing, and it says during your turn, choose. Give White Witch a power action, and each opposing character's combat values can't be modified until your next turn. So you have that ability that the power battery can't do, and is like the bane of all of the power batteries if you did do it, and several resources. Or give White Witch a free action, and each opposing character can't be given more than one free action until your next turn. Then you between White Witch, just having White Witch do that for a free action, she can still do everything else that she's going to do. And then she's like, oh yeah, guess what? You're under the effect of of a Green Lantern power battery, except this White Witch here. And, good luck to you, buddy. Let's see which one of, either the battery or White Witch, which one of these is going to go down first. So that's the cool thing, is that we have, some levels of diversity here with White Witch. Also, she brings in a lot of, for lack of a better word, options, definitely with being a Legion team ability, upfront shape change, incapacitate. She doesn't have any move and attack, but you can get that on there if you really, really want. Battlefield promotion, nothing too much to write home about. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Click 2, she turns into a medic, but not necessarily her greatest moments there. Definitely want to try to keep her on Click 1, because Click 2, even though you can get Barrier, Energy Shield, and Super Senses is on, it's really not worth it. You're better off on Click 1. I mean, she does go into like hardcore support mode on Click 2. So anyway, definitely a major figure to look at, keep mindful of. I feel that we are in a alteration stage that a lot of people are like, oh, wow, White Witch, she's sort of cool, but, Adam Friedman's team that he did last year that won nationals was okay, but, the tech's advanced since then. And I really sort of don't think that's 100% true. I think the tech pretty much has shifted slightly, but like that old Origins tech is still good. I don't think it's horrible. I think it's still good. I think there's some things that you can sort of pull out of there. All right, let's move on to another figure that I think we need to look at. I'm going to briefly shout out, they're not fully on my list, but I got to briefly shout out Speed Demon and Wizard, because with everybody playing these darn flashes and stuff, they both come in hella cheap, and they do better than most of these flashes. Like, they just do. They are better speedsters than the Flash speedsters. Just straight up. Okay, so crap. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Next character that we need to look at is Copycat. And you might say, well, Copycat's dead. No, Copycat's not dead. If you start looking at a lot of the tech that's emerged with the dynamic duo of Proxima Midnight and also Captain Marvel, you're going to notice a interesting trend. And guess what that trend is? Yes, that is correct. They are 100 points or less. Add in your Banshee, 100 under 100 points. You know, your Bill Agent of AIM. Just taking that shuts down so many teams. Like, think about it. You know, the double bullseye team, if you just took away Bill from that team, really, like, what can they do? Very little. You know, so there's a lot to think about with Copycat. Even with certain nerfs to specific characters, a lot of the teams right now are designed around having multiple sub 100 point figures. And that's the problem with Swarm, is that if you have your main attacker and your Swarm team is 100 points or less, then guess what? Copycat can come there and jack you. And she's not great as an attacker. I'm not going to front. She's not the best. Can she do some things? Yes. And I would definitely say that if you're going to practice or use Copycat in your tournament play, practice using Copycat. You know, I know that sounded dumb, but pretty much if you're going to play the figure, make sure you know how to play the figure on the board, not just utilize her swap ability. So definitely looking back at this year's Gen Con, Copycat wouldn't have helped anybody's team. I think right now everyone has sort of forgotten about her, but after looking at a couple of tournament reports, I think now's the time for people to remember the fear of Copycat, because, buddy, she's not as scary as she once was. Okay, I mean, she's not as scary as she once was, but she still can do stuff, and she can jack up a meta. So the threat of her could come in there and create an interesting play. But who knows? I'm hoping some positive stuff comes out. But anyway, let's move on. Next figure I'm going to bring up. Actually, I'm gonna put these two together because they sort of do similar things. Is Professor X and Scarlet Witch from AVX? And I know, like, you're gonna be like, you know, why are you gonna bring up those figures for? You know, like, I had problems with them last year. I don't want to deal with them again. Well, here's why. First off, a lot of people forgot about, like, the X-Men and the Avengers team bases. You can just pop Professor X off, and then whoop-de-dicky-doo, you have Professor X aura effect and full rage, you know, for very little cost to you, you know. So that's one thing. The other thing, that the main reason Professor X comes back is that you have the ability with, you know, Orange Lantern Battery to just say, guess what, homie? You don't get Indomitable, or you don't get to use willpower. Period. You know, and combining that with Professor X, and you're just able to say every turn, guess what, homie? You don't get to use Indomitable. Period. It can be very devastating. Just can be. And with that level of control in an aura, and you're able to protect Professor X, it's like, oh yeah, it's horrible to fight that. Definitely if you're able to control map. And the other thing that's really huge is because of the aura effect, you know, ranks is there, Bill is good for you. There's a lot of situations, in all honesty, where most of your opponents are going to be coming in, even with Bill, into his 8 range. So it's a very strong character. It definitely makes this, hey, guess what, guys? I'm hiding behind a bunch of walls. Meta that we're in now. I wouldn't say less palatable. I wouldn't say it makes that hiding meta less palatable. But if you're able to find ways to extend some of your abilities with him, it can be freaking ridiculous. It can be real ridiculous. Scarlet Witch is another one. We're not seeing a bunch of ATA shenanigans, but we are seeing a rise of strong team abilities. And not only that, are we seeing a rise of strong team abilities with the Star Sapphire battery. Having Mystics is huge. And then having Scarlet Witch come in and saying like, oh, you paid for that team ability? You don't get to use Mystics. Period. None of you do. Because you all failed your role. Scarlet Witch is really good for that. Again, Avengers team base, for the win. Like, don't sleep on that team base. Like, that tech is so good. Oh gosh, it's so good. Too bad I can't play it tomorrow. So good. I got you. Dun, 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 dun. Ah. Oh no, that's I Feel Good. Okay. So good. Yeah, okay, yeah, never mind. Oh. There's always Phoenix, Buster, Iron Man, but and that's anyway. That's just my little side fun. Phoenix, Buster, Iron Man. Phoenix, Buster, Iron Man. Yeah. Okay. Going on. I know a lot of folks will be like, "Yay, Silver Centurion," and we have some stuff from Flash that to get rid of his torpedo, so that is a positive. But again, it's still going to, be a problem. One figure I think you probably want to check out, just for the pure fact, just sort of to prove, like this multi-attack type meta is interesting but not dead, is Prime War Machine from Iron Man set, Invincible Iron Man. It's like the retaliatory strike. Each time War Machine is targeted with an attack, put a retaliation token on his card. Give War Machine a free action, remove 2 retaliation tokens. He then may make a ranged combat attack against a single target. Now, you might be saying like, blah, 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 Green Lantern power battery, blah, 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 White Witch. And I'm going to be like, blah, 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 I got 2 tokens on me and normally can't attack. I can perpetually attack. I think this figure, more than a lot of other figures, can operate really well as a one-man army. Mainly because you can do the following. You can slap a nurse construct on him. Have your opponents target him during the turn, which they are going to do. Roll for regen, and then proceed to Alpha Strike. And shoot. I mean, it's just that simple. It's like, oh, I regen, I shoot you. Are you not dead? That is fine. Okay, I'm taking more damage. You didn't kill me. I regen you. And then I shoot you. I mean, like I regen and I shoot. I mean, it sounds sort of stupid. But when you think about it, okay, he's 10 clicks deep. To get him low, if at all, it's going to take some time. And if you add in like shape change and somehow, it can be pretty interesting because technically you can't target them if you get your shape change. But if you fail your shape change, you're just going to load up on tokens. If you get your shape change, they can't target you. So either way, winning, you're Charlie Sheen, homie. Okay. Also, remember our homie Gizmo gives us all the powers that we need when we need it. I mean, that's how it is. But the main reason I sort of point that out is to sort of lead into a different point, which is the meta right now makes big shooter guys pointless. And I think it's been that way Wow. Since Batman. Yeah, it's been that way since Batman. Um, and I'm just going to do something like real quick. I'm going to list off the top of my head random big hitter guys that we were hot for at the time that we've completely forgot about or hardly mentioned, okay? And I just want you to like sit back in your brain and be like, "Oh, yeah, I remember him." Okay, so here we go. Brainiac 5. Remember him? Remember how awesome he was? Terrorax. Remember how many times you were pissed about Terrorax? Iron Man War Machine duo. The Colossus from Fear Itself. Yeah, remember him? Gladiator from Wolverine and X-Men. I mean, I already told you War Machine. Who else? Like, was it Hyperion? I think Hyperion was that set. Hyperion and King Hyperion. Okay. Who else is a good example? Freaking Deadpool. I mean, he was hella expensive. Everybody, oh, Deadpool's awesome. You know, like, I mean, really think about the disposability of a big attacker. Really sucks, doesn't it? So what this lets us know is the focus of the meta is not the attacker. While the attacker is nice and having some things built in, you know, in the core and not having to supplement those things is awesome. The real issue right now is this. How flexible is the figure, or how basic is the figure? Okay, how flexible, how basic. How flexible means, okay, are you able to access a plethora of options, i.e. engineer, i.e. super scroll, okay? Or are you like basic stripped down model and I'm just getting, you know, a few powers and really good base stats? So the best example of that is the Thor from DC 10th. Not the one that's the Vets Thor, but like the one that's like a remake of Ultimate's Thor. You're just paying for stats, and he's a boss, and he's a murderer, straight gangster murderer. Like, gosh, it's scary. Like what he can do, just boom, like lays it down, lays the hammer on the table, and says, "What? What are you gonna do?" Nothing. That's what you're going to do. So I think that that's one element that we've sort of forgotten, is that, you know, hitters are freaking replaceable. Like even with Tiamat, you know, people are like, "Oh my gosh, Tiamat is broken, blah, blah, blah. He's strong. I can't believe it. Oh, he wiped a whole army by himself." And I'm like, well, Magog did the same thing, but we don't talk about Magog anymore. Like, well, Magog got nerfed, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, but still, Magog can use excessive force to a degree. So it really is just sort of just let you know, like, okay, the where we at in thinking is not so much on the big attacker. And some folks will continue to focus on the big attacker. And I understand, like, Shuma pops out here and there. But what that also means is, like, the value of Highfather is good. But it's just like you have this catch-22. If the meta shifts towards like a 2-figure attacking team formation, of course, you're going to see Highfather a lot. If the meta shifts towards Swarm, you're going to see Copycat a lot. Okay? I mean, that's just the way it is. You know, you're going to see the two hit that pendulum and say whenever the meta goes to an extreme, either Copycat's going to strike or either Highfather's going to strike, and you have to sort of eat it. If your opponent decides to, you know, kick one of those points. But definitely say, coming back to the fact that the meta is, I wouldn't say it's in flux. There's some cool stuff that's coming in Trinity War. I'm not completely sold on Trinity War quite yet. I do think that they have a few tricks, you know, up their sleeve, but I also think that they're trying to experiment to see if you have a okay set and you have an Ultra Chase, would it sell more units? And my answer is no. I don't like, even with Freddie Freeman, and I really do like Freddie Freeman, I don't see him coming up the ranks and just being a rock dominator or a Gen Con or Origin dominator. I see him being forceful, and definitely with entities and whatnot. Yeah, he can get real stupid real fast. But I don't see him just point blank ruling the meta right now. If I see more of the set and get a couple more thoughts, I might change my position. This is like a first gut reaction. I do think him being a prime is nice. I do also think that him being a prime is a little bit unnecessary because he doesn't do anything too like, oh my gosh, wow, I've never seen this in the Shazam before. Because Origin's rookie Shazam, for around the same points, was just as strong as, he is right now. So I don't see too big of a deal with Freddie Freeman, but I still think he's going to be interesting. But pair him up just concept-wise and ability-wise against, some of the other primes. He's not the strongest. Okay? He's just not the strongest. So last but not least, as I wrap this up, one figure definitely looking at in the future is, I'll tie it. I'll say Ebony Maw and Engineer. The meta right now has a lot of supportish figures with support, perplex, outwit, and prob. Okay. But we're seeing lots and lots of perplex show up. And Ebony Maw's like, yeah, come on, bring it. Bring your outwit, homie. Bring your perplexes. I'm just going to stack up these tokens. And stack, and stack, and stack. And stack some more. So I wouldn't say there's very little that you can do against that. But the fact that if you're able to deploy Ebony Maw inside of a clumped enemy formation, your opponent is pretty much screwed. Going spiral down a circular plane. I don't really watch Big Bang Theory, but when I heard that one, I was like, oh, that was pretty funny. But Engineer, going back to, hyper flexibility, 90 points, probably the best support in the game. Do you need perplex right now? You can get it. Do you need outwit right now? You can get it. Do you need a ranged sniper right now? You can get it. Do you need flurry, steel, energy, prob? You can get it. Do you need charge super strength? You can get it. Like charge super strength exploit or hypersonic speed, super strength, perplex or, like there's so much you can do that it will display your skill level in doing so. And I know I was probably a little bit hard on the 90 initially when it came out, but I actually had a couple of brainstorming sessions and big shout outs to Lord Cardinal. And just thinking about like, oh, well, this, and it's like, oh, wait, no, this other thing. And then we just talked about, just some cool stuff with Engineer. So, oh man. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I'm getting tired. It's a long week at work, and anyway. So, if you're interested in hiring me for my heroclix services, you can hit me up at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com and just let me know that you want private mentoring. It's $15 an hour. If you just want to play a game against me, I will extend my little holiday offer to $5. So 1 game, 1 hour, boom. No commentary, no like this is how you would get better or anything like that. It's just, hey, play a game against Dark Logos. Yeah, but you can hit the subscribe button. That helps me rank up on the YouTubes. Not only that, you can follow me on Twitter It came from outer space and told me, buddy, you're so tired that you did your media stuff out of order. You can know when a new show is up. And more importantly, you can see my random musings, many of which are from the club, the salsa club, that is. Also, another club that's sort of funny is like I've been playing League of Legends a lot more. Well, I've been playing League of Legends, and I've gone back to Trundle, and I got the cop outfit for Trundle. So Trundle is a troll, and he has a big club. So it's sort of funny too, because I'm a pretty cool guy and I don't like trolling, but I like Trundle, the troll. Anyway, he's a troll king. Anyway, you can check out the blog. You can tell my enunciations are starting to go down. That definitely lets me know I'm sleepy. At startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And you can hit the donate button there and donate to me, and all the stuff goes towards making the show better. Yeah. Also, I will say this. I have saved up my earnings from tutoring and mentoring and stuff and selling on the eBays. I was able to afford the entity. Yay. So I should take a picture of it or something, but that puts me up to 4 possessions. So I got Parallax, Proselyte, Black Hand, and now the entity. And I think I have an Adara coming soon. Yeah, I bought an Adara, but I had to throw money at that. They're so cheap now, like, and I know some folks will be like, it's still $80. I mean, shoot, I was about to buy half these suckers at 100 something, and they're so cheap. All right, anyway, that is it. I'm going to bed. Check y'all later. And remember, man, screw it. I'm going to bed.